Good morning, everyone. Today is October 3rd, 2024. We are in the last quarter of this year, and I know I probably sound like a broken record when I talk about that, but it just amazes me how fast time goes, especially when you're getting older. You remember how it was when you were little? It seemed like time just went so slowly, and then all of a sudden you get older and it just goes like that. So I was in Costco about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it was, 2 or 3 weeks ago, it was still like the end of August, and they already had Christmas lights up. I said, okay, you know what? It's too much. It's too much. But anyway, here we are in October, and we are like a month away from the election. And I'm hoping that everybody by now has registered to vote and have registered other people to vote and have checked their own registration. Remember, we're telling you to check your registration once a week because of all of the voter suppression stuff that's going on. They're trying to be very slick, so we have to be more slick. Amen. So we have to check it. I still check mine once a week, even though I'm voting early. I'm voting by mail actually, but early, and and I've gotten the confirmation that they've got my application to do that, and they'll be sending me a ballot. But even with that, I check it. I check it. You have to check to make sure you're on the rolls. Still, you have to make sure that you check to see where your polling place is, right? You have to do all that. Please, please, please. And I'm going to repeat, I sound like a broken record, but the only way we get away from Trumpism, let's say Trumpism, because that's a thing and it's going to be with us for a while. The only way we get away from Trumpism and protect ourselves from all that Trumpism threatens to do to people who, parts of the masses. The only way we get past that or away from it is by having so many people show up at the polls that there can't be any disputes because they're trying everything they can. But that's why I'm telling you to please check your registration once a week. I'm also asking you to, if you have learned anything about Project 2025, to share with people what it is and how it will affect them. I work for the Samuel Dwight Proctor Conference in addition to the other things that I do, and we have just going to be sending out a toolkit for Project 2025 by tomorrow, Friday. And so if you want a copy of that, if you would email me at crazyfaith2019@gmail.com, I can make sure that we put you on the list to receive it. But if you get it, or when you get it, share it. Share it. This is all about crowdsourcing at this point. Share it. We did our toolkit to reach out to specifically to reach out to Black churches and pastors, because so many people, the pastors are who they listen to and they trust. But it's good for anybody. It's not a religious document. It is a document of teaching. It's an educational document. So I hope that you will, if you want to get it, again, crazyfaith2019@gmail.com. Also, if you want to be on the distribution list for these Tuesday meditations, I ask you to send your email information to that same email address, crazyfaith2019@gmail.com, and we will put you on the list. I also ask you to watch this on YouTube and like and subscribe. Like it on our Facebook page. The analytics count. They matter. They really do matter. So again, here we are. How about that debate on Tuesday? I almost didn't want to watch it because I knew that the J.D. Vance was going to be like he's such a polished and slick liar. I mean, it's just infuriating to me how much he lies, how much the media lets him get away with it. That's a whole other thing. But I watched it. I wasn't going to, but I watched it. And even though the vice presidential candidate, Governor Walz, was a little nervous at the beginning, I think he came through in the areas where he needed to come through. So I'm grateful for that. Somebody said to me, well, you are in favor of Kamala Harris. It's no secret I'm for Kamala Harris. Why? Because she said all the politicians are crooked, all of them take money, and all of them yada yada yada. And listen, I don't believe in the pure as the river snow politician. I do not. I know the politicians are part of the system, but there's good and then there's not so good. How about that? And this presidential candidate on the Republican side has said out loud what he wants to do, and he only wants to get money. How about now? He's selling Trump teddy bears, and the $300 watch. Are you kidding me? Is it $300? It might be even more than that. And the gold tennis shoes. It's just the $60 Bibles. It's infuriating to me. It's also been said that he has, been asking money to help the victims of Hurricane Helene. And why am I feeling like nobody's going to see that money? Nobody who really needs it. That's just me. That's just me. That's just me. I'm not stating a statement of fact. I'm just my opinion. But just based on how he has been in the past, he's wanting to get this money. That's all that matters to him. So money and power. So I want us to want more than money. I want us to want, at least the capacity to continue to be able to fight for our rights, so we don't lose the right to peacefully assemble. We don't lose the freedom of speech and the freedom of the press, which Project 2024 is all in for. And be clear that the vice presidential candidate on the other side is all in with it. I mean, he has been a part of the whole process. It is said that Peter Thiel, who is the president, I guess, and CEO of PayPal, is backing him. And I also heard it said that, read it, that a plan is to, the Republican plan, and I just read it in maybe Atlantic or Newsweek or something, that the plan is to get him elected and then use amendment, the 25th Amendment, to get him out. So they can get somebody that they want in. It's all so wicked, but you got to stay up on that. And so it means even more. There's even more of a reason to make sure that you vote, get everybody that you know to vote, because we are really at a precipice. We are really at a critical point. And some people say, we always say that, yeah, we always do, and more so lately, since this guy has been in power. But it's really true. It's really true. If you've not heard anything about Project 2025, somebody said to me yesterday, everybody knows about it. No, everybody does not. They not. They do not. It's amazing how many people don't know about Project 2025. This person also said everybody knows what's going on in Gaza. No, they do not. Some people just purposely ignore all of that because it's too hard. It's too hard. It's like building, we live lives like interstates are built. They build interstates to go around the poor areas of town. So many people never see the poverty and the devastation that people live in. They don't want to see it. We don't want to see bad stuff. We want to hear bad stuff. We just want to believe that everything is good and is as it has always been taught to us. And it is not. It is not. So it is really important. It is really important for everybody to vote. And I'm going to say again, if you vote third party, that's like voting for the Republican candidate. If you don't vote at all, that's like giving a vote to the other candidate. We cannot afford to lose a single vote, because what we saw last time, all the efforts to overturn the election, it's going to be worse this time, and they might succeed if we don't do our part. You understand what I'm saying? That we have to do our part. Nobody gets to sit this one out. Right? So anyway, good morning. I'm Reverend Susan Smith. I am the author of the book Rest for the Justice Seeking Soul. Rest for the Justice Seeking Soul, a group of meditations to help people who work for justice do the work. It's very hard to do the work because you get depressed. You get, it's like pushing up against a rock wall, because systems don't bend. They don't bend, and power concedes nothing without a demand. So we demand it, but power still just pushes back. And I repeat, and will always repeat that organized people are stronger than organized money. We have to believe that we have the power. Hear me? We have the power. If we didn't have the power, they would not be working so hard to make sure we can't vote. In the history of the United States, efforts have always been to keep Black people from voting, because after Reconstruction and Black people were given the right to vote back then, and they going and voting, and Black people were getting into office, and pushing policies that help Black people and all that, and the people who have been power before said, no, we can't do that. We can't let that happen. It's a whole thing. That's a whole thing. But anyway, so they've always realized our power. They've always realized the power of the vote. And that's why Paul Weyrich said, I think in 1981, who's called the father of conservatism, he said, we don't want everybody to vote. And they are not lying. They don't want everybody to vote, because that dilutes their capacity or possibility for getting into office, getting power, and holding on to power. They don't care about the masses, even though many of them call themselves Christian. They don't care anything about Matthew 25, where it says, take care of the least of these. They don't care about any of that. They care about money, and they care about power. And that is a historical reality, all the way going back to Pope Ignatius, I think, who started the the Christian crusades. Always, 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 always about money and power. That's the world. That's the world. They don't care who they kill. They don't care who they maim. They don't care what they destroy. That is the world. So the way we fight against that tendency, that human tendency to just want money and power at any cost, is to use our vote. That's our weapon. Our votes are our weapons. So I'm hoping that you are doing that. If you haven't yet registered, do it today. In Ohio, you can register online. If you have moved, re-register. My daughter just moved. She went to the BMV to change her address on her license, her driver's license, because what's on your license has to match what's in the book, and your name has to match what's in the book, the voter for Board of Elections. So she went there, and she, so she could give her married name, and she was licensed now with her married name, and they at that site modified, corrected her voter registration form, so she can go and vote on election day. Show them her license with her new address and her new name, and she'll be cool. Don't take anything for granted. There's too much at stake. There is too much at stake. So if you have not yet registered in Ohio, you can do it online. In another state, wherever you are, you might have to go down to the Board of Elections. Whatever you have to do, please do it. Please do it. Because you know what? But VP Kamala Harris says we've come too far. She didn't say that part. What she has said is we ain't going back. You have to keep saying that. You have to remember. You have to remember. And if you can't remember, you have to read something that talks about how bad it was. And she talks about how before the Affordable Care Act, you couldn't get insurance if you had a pre-existing condition. It's the craziest thing in the world, but it's a policy put in place because insurance people really don't want to help us. They just want to make money. They want to take our money, and then when we need insurance, they might pay a claim, and then they raise our rates. It's all about money. So you have to understand that. And you have to fight against that. We have to fight against that with every single fiber of our being. So anyway, back to who I was, Reverend Susan Smith. And I wrote this book for the justice-seeking soul. And I write a meditation every single week to help us who are going through and fighting and going through and fighting and going through and fighting and sometimes feeling like we're not doing any good. That book has 90 meditations in it. It was published by Whitaker House. And I thank you, Whitaker House. I want to do another volume because I write these things every single week. I have now for years, and I just think that we need a special kind of food when we're doing this work because this justice work will knock you down. It really will knock you down. What we aim for is not getting knocked out. Amen. So today, I'm going to read you the meditation I sent out this past Tuesday, and it's called When You Have Lost Everything. When You Have Lost Everything. Hurricane Helene made her uninvited appearance in the Southeast United States, stomping in, running over, pushing, and burying all that happened to be in her way, and then she left. The wind subsided, but the rain continued to fall by seemingly buckets full on the ground and into rivers that could not hold it. And the result is that many people have lost everything. It has happened before, of course, due to storms or other catastrophic events, but the reality of the total devastation some are suffering now has drawn me in. Every time there's a big storm like that, like the tornadoes or like when Hurricane Katrina came, it just draws me in because it's just such a sobering thought to think of how you feel if you have a house today at October 3rd at 7:14 a.m. and maybe at 8:20 it's gone because of a storm. I just can't even conceive of how bad that must feel. But I've been thinking about that and the reality of total devastation, the total devastation that some are suffering has drawn me in. The words to one hymn keep visiting me, really kept visiting me all last week. And those words are, when peace like a river attendeth my way, when storms like the sea billows roll, whatever my lot, thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul. These words were written by a man who had truly lost everything. His name was Horatio Spafford, an attorney who lived in Chicago with his wife, one son, and 4 daughters. His son, who was only 4 years old, died in the Great Chicago Fire of 1871. And Spafford was devastated as well as financially impacted as the fire destroyed much of the real estate that he owned. His grief and that of his wife was unbearable. I can't even imagine. I can't imagine. That stuff just gets to me. I can't imagine. He wanted to find a way to help his wife's pain, even as he dealt with his own. And so in 1873, 2 years after that fire, he decided to put his wife and four daughters on a ship named the Vie de Havre and head to England to visit friends. He was going to join them shortly, but during that journey, the Vie de Havre collided with another ship. Over 200 people died, including his four daughters. Spafford was devastated again. He made arrangements to set sail himself for England to be with his wife, who, of course, was beyond consolable. At a certain point along the way, the captain of the ship approached Spafford and pulled him aside. The part of the ocean over which they were now sailing was the spot where the shipwreck that took the lives of his four daughters had happened. And I imagine that Spafford felt sick to his stomach. I imagine he felt rage and anger and grief that was overwhelming, causing pain that raw grief was able to scrape free. It was there in those moments of realizing that he was perhaps sailing over the bodies of his daughters that he wrote the words quoted that I just said, which became the words and the substance of the beloved hymn, "It is well with my soul." It made me wonder, is it an act of faith or a prayer of desperate petition or both that would lead someone to write such powerful words in the face of having lost so much? Where does the capacity to write something like that come from when you have lost everything? Are people in the Carolinas who lost everything able to even think of words like that, or at least hum the melody of the hymn? Or is even a suggestion of those words, is it helpful? Would it be helpful at such a time of such cruel loss and maybe insensitive? All of us have experienced devastating losses, but proportionately, few of us have experienced the type of loss that Spafford endured, or the losses people that were in Helene's path are experiencing right now. Many people have money to repair their homes, or if that's not possible, just to move. But there are a whole lot of other people who do not have the money and or are ineligible to receive insurance funds because they use their insurance benefits after the last devastating hurricane in that area, Idalia, that hit them 13 months ago. Others may still have insurance, but may have become delinquent in paying a premium because their salaries have not been sufficient to pay their bills and the premiums have gone up. So for them, insurance has almost been a luxury. So I ask, is it well with their souls? Can such a thought, or should such a thought be suggested even? The wealthy may grumble some, but the everyday people, those who don't have enough money to make the needed repairs or to move, what do they do? What do they say? What do they sing? What do any of us do when storms like the sea billows roll? What do we do? Can anyone's soul be well at times like that? The people who have lost everything because of Helene are digging through what is left of their homes and businesses, and they know that there is nothing they can do but dig. They must dig into the mud left by floodwaters and haul and throw away much of what once defined and shaped their lives. Somehow, they must find the strength to go on. What was is no longer. They are living a baptismal experience where some very important parts of their lives have died and been buried. They dig to make space for new life to be created. As that happens, they resurrect. They walk out of the tomb of what was into the open field of what shall be. Maybe that's what we should all do, practice or prepare for the experience of baptism caused when we lose everything. The destruction of what we had and loved and will never have again will never be greater than the newness of life that comes when what was dies and is buried. The baptismal experience is more than having water sprinkled on our foreheads and being immersed in a pool. It is a blueprint for what we must do when we lose everything. Total loss means new life. Total loss means new life. And those times our digging leads us to the hope that lives in the souls of all of us. And when we feel that hope, we begin the process of healing. May we all do whatever we can to help those who have lost everything in the digging out process. And in so doing, begin the digging out of our own souls of those things that would cause us to shatter and fall in an experience of total loss and devastation. Amen and amen. So I hope that that meditation resonates with you, makes you think about something. It always kind of cracks me up when I write something, I go back and read it and say, shoot, that's making me think in new ways, and it really is. I have these images of all that mud in places where people used to have a home. I'm thinking of people who need water and food and all of that. And those of you who want to help, you can go through the American Red Cross, or there are other agencies that you look online to help. But if you're going to take a trip down there, some people are actually taking a trip. Take water, take cans of food, take baby diapers, take all that kind of stuff, because they have nothing. They have nothing. They have nothing. We who are blessed are called to help those who are going through a time, and they're going through a time. So I hope that this meditation is something that you can chew on and resonate with. I want to thank you, those of you who are here, my online friends. Thanks for being here. I hope you'll come back. I hope that you'll tell other people to come. I hope that you will go to our YouTube page and like us and subscribe. I hope that you'll like us on Facebook and leave comments, because all that stuff helps. But I want to say again, thank you for being a part of this family. Thank you for being a part of my Thursday mornings. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. And together, in this very prescient time in our history, may we all work together to save our democracy and save the freedoms that we do have, so that we can move forward and get more freedoms. I love you guys. Take